defense minister want us to believe that he only recently learned how wrong his statements were on the role of the Red Cross in Afghanistan, even though he and the foreign affairs minister received a personal briefing last September. Now, access documents show if he had bothered to read his own ministerial briefing books, he would have known since October that the Red Cross only has the right to visit detainees and is not responsible to monitor them. How can the minister expect Canadians to believe his so-called distortion were not deliberate when his answer were at his fingertips for months?
My statements here in the House were made in good faith and based on the understanding that I had. We will make sure that detainees are treated properly, and we have engaged the Afghan Human Rights Commission, and they will go into the Afghan system and they will report anything wrong with respect to detainees.
There are few things more important for the honor of a country than to protect the human lives under its duty, including war detainees. It's clear that this Minister of Defense failed to this duty, even though he has been briefed on this many often. So I have no other choice than to ask to the Prime Minister to ask his Minister of Defense to do the honorable thing and resign.
The Minister of National Defence has provided a clear explanation to the House of Commons. This government was, as he knows at the time, operating under an agreement signed by the previous government. We've since entered into a new arrangement with the independent Afghan Human Rights Commission. Mr. Speaker, I can understand the passion that the leader of the opposition and members of his party feel for Taliban prisoners. I just wish occasionally they show the same passion for Canadian soldiers.
First, he said that the government doesn't care about human rights, and second, that the official opposition doesn't care about Canadian soldiers. The Prime Minister must understand that he insulted the Parliament, the entire Parliament, with his statement, and he should apologize.
Mr. Speaker, I said absolutely no such thing. What I said, Mr. Speaker, clearly was that the government does care about this issue. That's precisely why the Minister of National Defence, upon learning the information he learned, has acted to correct the situation, and we will continue to monitor the situation to make sure we make progress. Mr. Speaker, the only other point I'm making is that I'd like to see more support in this House of Commons from all sides for Canadian men and women in uniform. I think Canadians expect that from parliamentarians of every party. They haven't been getting it, and they deserve it.
We've heard from minister after minister that the Afghan Independent Human Rights Commission will monitor prisoners transferred by Canada. Yesterday, the Prime Minister told the House that the government will, quote, ensure that they have the capacity to undertake the terms of the agreement. But this is ridiculous. The Afghan Commission's got 7 staff and no access to prisons. Why didn't the Prime Minister make sure that the Commission had this capacity before signing the agreement and before telling the House on countless occasions that they could do the job?
Again, Mr. Speaker, our officials are in ongoing communication with the Afghan Independent Human Rights Commission. We've offered any help that is necessary. We're not at the moment told of the problems that are being reported in the papers today. Obviously, if there are such problems, we will act.
This government's handling of the whole affair has been disgraceful. The Prime Minister and the Minister of Defence don't seem to understand that the honour of Canada is at stake. We need to ensure that our military uphold the best traditions they've always upheld of complying with the Geneva Convention. There's no conceivable reason to keep this mission under the control of a minister who doesn't seem to know which way is up. Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister stop this sickening charade and fire that Minister of Defence?
I think what's disgraceful, Mr. Speaker, is to simply accept the allegations of some Taliban suspects at face value, Mr. Speaker. That's not appropriate for a Canadian Member of Parliament.
The Minister of Defence misled the House again yesterday. He said he claimed that these allegations were simply rumours and that the Human Rights Commission in Afghanistan was going to be responsible for the situation. Now we learn that the head of that commission is barred from going to the prisons. What more does it take for the Prime Minister to issue an instruction to his incompetent Minister of Defence that the transfers should stop now, pending the truth? Why won't he stand up and make that instruction today?
I look again the minister straight in the eye. Will the minister, look at me, will the minister admit that he learned about allegation of torture through the media and that his arrangement with the Afghan Human Rights Commission is a sham? When will the Minister of Defense realize that the only way to protect our reputation in the world is to resign?
As I've said, the Independent Human Rights Commission is in regular contact with our people, and if they need any assistance, we will provide that assistance. To date, they have not asked for any assistance.
Can the minister tell Canadians what immediate steps he is taking to verify that detainees captured by Canadian forces in Afghanistan and transferred to Afghan authorities are being properly treated?
Our government has asked a number of officials to contact the Afghan government, the various elements of the Afghan government that have to do with detainees, to confirm whether there is any truth to the allegations, the rumors and allegations that are in the media, and they will report back to us. If there is any foundation for this, we will be dealing with the Afghan government to ensure that they are corrected.
Mr. Speaker, this government was told by their own officials that detainees face a high risk of torture, extrajudicial executions. But yesterday, the Prime Minister told this House that he had no evidence at all to support these allegations. Why did the Prime Minister hide from Canadians the fact that he had received this damning report?
The Leader of the Opposition should know that annual reports on governance, democratic development and human rights have been prepared by our embassy in Afghanistan since 2002. They document general concerns. They also document the various actions that the government and its officials are taking to deal with those concerns, Mr. Speaker. We have no evidence of the specific allegations that appeared this week in the Globe and Mail, but obviously, Mr. Speaker, as I've indicated, we take any such allegations seriously. Officials are working with their Afghan counterparts, and I am told receiving full cooperation getting the facts.
Who told Foreign Affairs officials to release only positive section of this report? Who told them to black out those sections that warn about these potential abuses? Who told officials to deny the very existence of this report on human rights issues in Afghanistan? Was it the Minister of Foreign Affairs? Was it the Minister of Defense? Or was it the Prime Minister?
Right Honourable the Prime Minister.
Well, I wondered how long it would be until we got the conspiracy theories going, but Mr. Speaker, the reality is this. The Leader of the Opposition is a former Minister of the Crown. He knows what the process is. The process, Mr. Speaker, is very simple. When it comes to access to information, these decisions are made by government lawyers. They do not consult politicians or ministers. They act according to the law, and their decisions, Mr. Speaker, can always be appealed to the Access to Information Commissioner.
We now have a report by officials warning the Conservative government of torture, abuse and murder in those prisons. After first denying the existence of the report, the document was released with disturbing sentences blacked out. Who among the Prime Minister, the Minister of Defense and the Minister of Foreign Affairs saw the report, and above all, who ordered the cover-up?
Speaker, I think I've already answered the question on the process. The Deputy Leader of the Liberal Party, I suppose, hasn't been in government and doesn't understand the access to information process. I can say this, Mr. Speaker. It's a general report, as he knows, a general report prepared for the last 5 years on some of the challenges in Afghanistan, some of the actions taken. But let me quote another section of the report, Mr. Speaker, which also said, judges and prosecutors are being trained, more defendants are being represented, courthouses and prisons are being built or improved, and the capacity of the permanent justice institutions are being enhanced. Mr. Speaker, we're not under any illusion there are big challenges in Afghanistan, but progress is being made.
Foreign Affairs originally said the report did not exist. Now we know it does. Did the Prime Minister's office order the document erased? When will the Prime Minister erase this Minister of Defense from his portfolio?
No one has denied that reports exist. There was a general application for all reports. Now, Mr. Speaker, I just heard something in this House from a former finance minister who has called the Minister of Defense a chicken. This is a man who has served his country in uniform for over 30 years. The only thing he's left is an army of carpetbaggers and fundraisers.